All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with another 49er video as we take a look at three players to keep your eye on later this week during the Niners rookie minicamp in Santa Clara. We'll talk about that coming up next. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. So get there early and get some brisket chili. Tell them the Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by Claw Daddy Arcades. That's right. They're a great follow on Instagram at claw_daddy_arcades to find an arcade location in Northern California near you. And we're brought to you as well by LearnKey Upskill Academy. The show is sponsored, or the video is sponsored by LearnKey's Upskill Academy, an online learning platform designed to get you job ready in 6 months or less. Whether you're interested in IT, cybersecurity, marketing, it could be another high demand field. They offer over 30 certification programs to help you take that next step in your professional career. They've got flexible online learning and industry recognized certifications that you can build your career around. I'm a big fan of LearnKey Upskill Academy. The links are in the description for all of our sponsors, and thanks to LearnKey for being a sponsor of the show. All right, later this week, the 49ers will gather in Santa Clara, and it's rookie minicamp. And to me, there's three guys, and I've been looking at their class of rookies. All eyes are going to be on Mikael Williams. All eyes are going to be on Alfred Collins. The two top draft choices are going to be the guys that everybody wants to watch. But you know what? If you look a little closer, I think there's three other guys that really could be outstanding stories that are going to be down there at rookie minicamp. Two of them are undrafted free agents. One of them is actually just there to try out. So we'll talk about all three of these guys. The first guy I want to talk about is big Sebastian Valdez, for an undrafted free agent defensive tackle out of the University of Washington. So, last year, the Niners signed Evan Anderson as an undrafted free agent. And they gave him like $380,000 guaranteed. And he really gave them a nice payout. He started one game. He played in 12 other games. He had a sack. He had a forced fumble. He had 22 tackles. He had 2 tackles for a loss. He had a fumble recovery. So Evan Anderson was a nice player for the 49ers last year. And that was a really, really nice addition by the 49ers. And if you think of undrafted free agents, the undrafted free agents in a lot of ways are the heart and soul of an NFL team. They're the heart and soul of an NFL roster. They're the guys who overcame, right? The guys who didn't get invited to the combine, the guys who were looked over and picked over throughout the draft process. They didn't hear their names called during draft weekend, but they feel like they've got game. I mean, give you an idea, last year there were 43 undrafted free agents that made it through the league's final preseason cut deadline and onto active rosters. And that number does not include all the options that eventually made their way to practice squads as well. So 43 guys, undrafted guys, just made their NFL team last year out of camp. So it absolutely can happen. And Valdez is an incredible story. He's 6'3". He's 300 pounds. Sebastian Valdez from the University of Washington. They call him Seabass. Of course they do, right? But this kid, the more I watch him, the more I see the vision of why you want this guy. He is an athletic freak. He absolutely is. First of all, he's a 300-pound defensive tackle, but he's versatile. They've lined him up at end. This guy might be able to help you as an edge rusher. He is an athletic freak. Now, what makes him the athletic freak that he is? Raw power. Raw power. He had 34 reps on the bench of 225 pounds. That is number one, regardless of any position in the entire 2025 draft class. There was nobody at any position that had more bench press reps, whether at the combine or in a pre-draft workout, than Sebastian Valdez. Seabass put up 34 reps. So the guy is unbelievably strong and has crazy raw power. Okay. If he was a stiff, he'd be interesting, but he's not. He ran 5.02 in the 40. That ranks in the top 10 of all defensive tackles that were eligible for the 2025 draft. So not only did he have the number one bench, he's a top 10 40 guy. His 10-yard shuttle of 1.72 was top 5 among all defensive tackles in this draft class. Top 5, 10-yard shuttle. His short shuttle, 4.46, second best among all defensive tackles in the draft. This is an athlete, man. This guy's a major athlete. His relative athletic score was 9.27 out of 10. This is a guy who's a power player. He can take on double teams and he can split double teams. He's got huge, gigantic 10.5-inch vice grip hands. 14 career sacks, started 3 years in a row. This guy was a Montana State kid. He's played 3 years at Montana State. Never missed any time in college. 3 years at Montana State, finished up at Washington this year in the Big Ten. Never missed any time. Guy's incredibly durable. What really stands out on film is you can see the strength, you can see the speed, but it's the short area quickness. The guy's got unbelievable short area quickness. So there are negatives. It's not like he's a perfect player. That's why he wasn't drafted. He was a 3-year starter at the FCS level at Montana State. So, there was that, like how good of a level of competition did he actually play against? He transferred to Washington this last year. He's got short arms. We're talking about 32-inch arms at most, maybe 31 and change. He's got short arms. So short arms, played 3 years at the FCS level. Those are the downsides. That's why he didn't get drafted. But man, this guy has, throughout his career, he's often been overlooked. He was a 0-star recruit out of high school. But then he stepped in as a freshman. He was good as a freshman. He was busted out as a sophomore, led his team in sacks as a sophomore, and then transferred as a 4-star recruit to, reclassified as a 4-star recruit. And he jumped into the portal and everybody wanted him. And he jumped to the Washington Huskies. He started 12 games this year, 49 tackles, 2 sacks. Really, when you're talking about this player, he's dominant against the run. That's what he is. He's a dominant run defender. He's a first and second down player for the most part who's dominant against the run. Incredible raw power. I mean, you can see it. This guy can move people. He's got vice grip hands, really strong, really durable. Short area quickness is his calling card as well. Very strong, dominant against the run, short area quickness, 10-inch hands. Just a power player. Splits double teams, throws guys down, sea bass. And this guy's got a little bit of juice where they've lined him up in different spots as a defensive end. He just keeps coming. So look for that guy this summer. But if you're down there at the rookie minicamp, look for Sebastian Valdez to make a name for himself. Really, really interesting player. Really interesting player. And the Niners actually had a pretty interesting undrafted class. Isaiah Nayer, incredible athlete, maybe one of the greatest athletes in the country. Wide receiver, 6'4", 220. He's 23 years old. He runs 4.4 flat, 35-inch arms, and a 40-inch vertical. You got to be kidding me. His RAS score was 989. Now, it's funny. Chase Sr. was like, his buddies say, hey, the guy looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. I thought he played pretty good this year for Nebraska. So we'll see. So you got Isaiah Nayer. You got Drew Moss, who's a right guard / right tackle from Colorado State. You got Corey Kiner, who's got unbelievable contact balance. Really underrated running back from Cincinnati. You got Sebastian Valdez, who I just described to you as just a freak of freaks at defensive tackle as well. You got Stone Blanton, who's a tackling machine from Mississippi State. And then you got Jacob Robinson, and we'll get to Jacob Robinson in just a minute, cornerback out of BYU. Now, the other guy is Jacob, one of the other guys. There's three guys I think you should keep an eye on. Seabass, one of them is Jacob Robinson as well. The Niners did not sign a bunch of undrafted free agents. They had a very minimal class. I thought it was a poor decision on their part to try to save money on that area, considering it was such a burgeoning, deep class of undrafted players. And I think they could have helped themselves significantly, but they opted to sit it out for the most part. But they did sign a group of guys, and one of them was BYU's corner, Jacob Robinson. And he definitely stands out that as a guy who potentially could help the Niners. I mean, Mooney Ward left for the Colts in free agency. Rock Ya-Sin moved on. Isaac Yiadom moved on. The Niners really have holes in their secondary. They brought in Trey Brown as a veteran option, but he's struggled throughout his career. It's not like he's just been a slam dunk guy. The Niners drafted Upton Stout in the 3rd round. I think they are earmarking him as a slot defender. So let's talk a little bit about Jacob Robinson. He's an experienced player. A guy played over 54 college games. He also has really good ball skills. He had 11 career interceptions and 21 passes defensed in the last 4 years. And he runs 4.36. So you're talking about sub 4.4 speed, and he's got good ball skills, and he's got a lot of experience playing in a pretty good program there at BYU. Jacob Robinson is a guy to watch for sure. He's a guy that I think is a guy that should be, an interesting player to see at rookie minicamp. All right, the third guy is even probably more interesting than those two guys, and that is Ty French. You say, I don't know that name, Krug. Tell me a little bit about Ty French. So Ty French played at West Virginia this year. He's 6'2", 6'3", about 230 pounds. Played for Neil Brown, the head coach at West Virginia, and the defensive coordinator, Jordan Leslie. And he was a big time, this was a big time, recruit for them to get in the transfer portal out of Gardner-Webb. Ty French was an edge rusher from Gardner-Webb. Now, I don't know if he's going to be an edge rusher in the NFL or if he's going to be a linebacker. But this was one of the best pass rushers at the FCS level in the entire country. He had 239 tackles, 61 TFLs, 34.5 career sacks, 7 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and an interception in 4 seasons for Gardner-Webb. So 34.5 sacks. Now, I saw an interview that he did, and he said, hey, look, at Gardner-Webb, I could just beat the tackles out of my stance. I could just run right around him. He's like, this year, the tackles at West Virginia and the tackles I went up against were far better. And I think you saw, he transferred to West Virginia because he's got a little girl. He's got a baby. He wants to have a pro career. He felt like he had a better chance to make it in the pros coming out of West Virginia than out of Gardner-Webb. So he transferred. But he was an amazing sack master at Gardner-Webb. Unfortunately, he didn't have that production in Morgantown for West Virginia. He just didn't. He didn't have the same kind of production that he had at Gardner-Webb. He had 22 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss. He didn't have a single sack. So the Niners signed him, I think they've either signed him as an undrafted free agent or they're giving him a tryout. He may not actually be signed. He may just be one of the 4 or 5 guys getting a tryout. But obviously the Niners believe that maybe at West Virginia, he's in a bad situation, just didn't fit the Mountaineers defense. I think they run like a 3-3-5. But man, when you see a guy put up 34.5 sacks at Gardner-Webb, you got to take a look. And, it's if this guy's going to make the Niners roster, he's going to have to make it on special teams. He's going to have to show that he can rush the passer from time to time, and he's got that in him, but that he's also a contributor right away on special teams. So he was a finalist for the 2022 Stats Perform FCS Buck Buchanan National Player of the Year Award that goes to the best player in the FCS in 2022. He had 12 and a half sacks that year, 16 TFLs, 75 total tackles. So, and then he transferred up to the Power 4 level with West Virginia following 4 seasons at the FCS level at Gardner-Webb. And as I said, he didn't have as good a year. He wasn't as good this year for West Virginia as he was at Gardner-Webb. And that's not totally surprising. But what a career he had at Gardner-Webb. And this guy's a tremendous athlete. He's from Moultrie, Georgia. We're talking about one of the most dominant pass rushers in the country at Gardner-Webb. This guy set 34 and a half career sacks. That's the Gardner-Webb school record. In 54 games at Gardner-Webb, he had 63 tackles for loss and 34 and a half career sacks, an interception, and 7 forced fumbles. So I like this prospect quite a bit. One, sack production has a tendency to carry over. That's why when you see a guy like Mikael Williams, who didn't have a lot of sack production, or Shamar Stewart, it's a little bit of a concern, because there's a saying when a guy sacks the quarterback, oh, he's got a knack. He just has a knack of doing it. And it's not always the biggest guy. It's not always the strongest guy. It's not always the fastest guy. Sometimes it's just a guy with a little bit of a knack to get to the pass rusher. He understands how to twist and turn, how to use his hands, and how to be resourceful. But this was one of the most dominant pass rushers in the country, granted at the FCS level, and he has great speed. We're talking about 4.5 speed, 6'3", 230, 4.5 speed, long arms, hard worker, honor roll student, great motor. So it's just a matter of, where does he fit? Is he too small at 230 pounds to play defensive end in the wide 9? Probably. Do the Niners like him as a stacked backer? This guy's pretty athletic. Pretty, if you want to gamble on athleticism, as I said, 6'2", 230, 6'3", 230 in that range. Incredibly productive career at the FCS level. The perfect linebacker build with great speed, long arms, hard worker, smart kid, honor roll student, 54 career starts, lots and lots of production. So he's a guy to look for sure. To me, those are the 3 guys to look for this weekend. Jacob Robinson, the corner from BYU, is definitely one of them. Definitely Sebastian Valdez, the incredible rusher from Washington, who could be an edge rusher, could be a defensive tackle, could be some combination. And then there's Ty French, the sack master from Gardner-Webb, who had one somewhat disappointing year in Morgantown for West Virginia, but all the traits that made Ty French so attractive are still there. He's a crazy athlete. He had dominant sack numbers, great speed, long arms, hard worker, has a knack, forces fumbles, smart as hell. There's a lot to like there, a lot to like. So look for those 3 guys. Definitely look for Valdez. Definitely look for Robinson. And Ty French is getting the tryout this week as well. And look for those 3 guys down at Niner minicamp, rookie minicamp. And I think all 3 of those guys could wind up making a real name for themselves this summer in Santa Clara. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Learn Key Upskill Academy. Thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades. The links are in the description for all of our sponsors. Hit like and subscribe on your way out the door. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.